let's dive really deep into the subconscious mind and reprogramming it. Because in order to change your life, you really need to change yourself at the core. So I'm going to show you a graph that literally changed my life and some concepts that I have never heard anyone else talk about on YouTube. All right, before we begin, I want you to pay attention to this video here. Watch the team in white and count how many times they pass the ball to each other.
How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
The correct answer is 13, but chances are you didn't see the moonwalking bear in the background. Now, this is an example of how if we don't focus on something, sometimes it can be omitted. So why didn't you see the bear? Let me show you a quick diagram so that you can understand. All right, guys, pay close attention because this is going to be very profound for you. And don't get intimidated, I'm going to unpack everything here. On this side over here, we have the world as it is. So I'm talking about the world of atoms, the world of molecules, waves of different ranges, basically the outer physical world as we know it. And this component of the diagram is our physical boundary as human beings. So our physical boundary is basically how we can experience the world through the physical senses. So I'm talking about 5 senses: smell, taste, touch, sight, and hearing. We know for a fact that there are more ways to experience the world than just these 5 senses, but other animals have that we don't. For example, certain animals can pick up on electronic magnetic waves produced by the earth and can have their guidance system determined by that. Certain animals can see different spectrum of light than we can. There's different spectrums of light. There's the red light, blue light, and yellow light and all that type of stuff that we can see as human beings, but there's also ultraviolet, there's also X-rays and other wavelengths that we can't actually see with our human bodies, but we know that these things are there because we have equipment that can detect it. So that's the physical world, and we're limited by our physical boundary in regards to what we can experience. So let's say we experience something. This is an experience, whether it's light or whatever, some sort of pack of data. That goes in and goes through the physical boundary and then goes first to our subconscious, right? So this component of our brain incorporates around 95% or processes 95% of the data that we experience from the outside world. So it's basically the head honcho. It processes everything. So the information gets filtered again through the subconscious, and then about 5% of it, scientists believe, goes to our conscious awareness. But before it gets to our conscious awareness, it needs to go through the awareness boundary. Imagine that you're sitting in a room, it's at room temperature, and someone turns on the air conditioning system and just lowers the temperature. So normally you wouldn't experience anything until it gets to a certain temperature. Maybe it goes down 5 degrees or 6 degrees or whatever, and then you start feeling cold. That's because the degree in change reaches your awareness boundary. It's significant enough for your subconscious mind to now say, hey, something's going on, and tell your conscious mind that it needs to do something. So the subconscious mind processes these degrees of difference, but we might not consciously be aware of them until it gets to the awareness boundary where it becomes important enough for the subconscious to communicate with the conscious mind and say, hey, look, something's going on, do something about it. Now, it gets really interesting here. There is something in your brain called the reticular activating system, or for short, RAS. And it's at near the brainstem, near the amygdala, which is like one of the oldest parts of the brain. So you have your brain here. It's a pretty ugly looking brain, I know. And it's somewhere down here near the brainstem. So this RAS, reticular activating system, its main job is to primarily filter this information here and alert the conscious mind. So it's the thing that actually filters what's being processed through the subconscious and alerts the conscious mind to do something about it. It filters what's important and what's not important. For example, imagine a woman who lives in the city and she's able to sleep through heavy traffic because her mind is adapted to it. She is used to it. There's loud traffic every night, but she can go to sleep. The same woman, if she becomes a mother and gives birth to a child, all of a sudden she'll be able to pick up on the most subtle, nuanced noises from the baby during the night and wake up and know that something's wrong. It's because her reticular activating system now prioritizes the baby. Now, because her identity is shifted from being a single woman to being a mother, it now puts a greater emphasis on that information and pays attention to it and gives it to the conscious mind. So there's a bunch of different stuff that we filter out throughout our lives because of our identity and who we see ourselves as. And as soon as we change that, our conscious mind starts becoming aware of it. And this is very important. Be more context on the reticular activating system. I used to be a skateboarder. I used to skate and I used to look for what are called gaps in the skateboarding world. It's basically big jumps that you do tricks over, and stairs and rails. These are the things that we would skate back in the day. Now, whenever I would be driving, I was amazed at how quickly my mind was able to turn and find a really good skate spot. And a lot of skaters shared this with me, the ability to know instantly when a spot was going to appear and how it was going to be really good for skateboarding. That's because our reticular activating system was primed towards finding skateboarding spots. In the same way that a basketball player like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James that's at the highest level, their reticular activating system is primed to pay attention to the most subtle details in the game dynamics that give them the advantage over other players. So they've focused so much on their craft that they can now tap into that unconscious level of understanding to a degree. They can now get some of that subconscious information consciously, right? So basically their spectrum of awareness expands much faster than the average person. And the way that we do this is through changing our identity. Mothers are able to hear babies at nighttime when previously they weren't able to because their identity has changed. Becoming a mother changes how they see themselves at the core. If you're a basketball player who's constantly playing basketball, you're gonna see things that a normal person isn't gonna see because you're a basketball player at the core. If you're a skateboarder, you're gonna see skateboarding spots because you're a skateboarder at the core. So what we wanna do is start changing ourselves by changing what we focus on. Let's say that you're trying to become an entrepreneur and you want to make more money, you want to live the 4-hour work week lifestyle, and you want to just not be a slave to the rat race. There's a range of different things that you have to do. The number one thing you're gonna have to do is change your focus from being someone who is a taker to someone who is a giver. So entrepreneurs are constantly gonna be looking for ways to increase the value he puts out into the world. So whenever you change your focus, your brain is gonna get on your side, abiding that you do it consistently. It's just like habits. You need a certain amount of consistency to form the habit. You need a certain amount of consistency in focusing on what you want to allow your reticular activating system to do it automatically. And once it's automatic, your success is inevitable. So that's the reticular activating system, guys, and it's a concept that's incredibly important. You need to understand it if you want success in life. Success starts with focus, focusing on what you want consistently until your brain understands that this is now a part of your identity. This is something that can now be automated, and a plethora, a world of amazing opportunities will open up itself to you through being able to tap into the deeper levels of the unconscious, of the subconscious that other people aren't necessarily paying attention to, and taking information from that. That's where all great inventions come from. So do that and you'll be one step closer to living and dying well. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell notifications so we can see more of each other. Until next time.